Hi, this is Herb Allen with MainStreet Financial Group, and I find myself at that quiet time in the middle of the weekend where I can pull away to get a good view of this global market and how it might play out in Main Street. A happy day to you, and it's Sunday, November 17, 2019. I was so pleased to hear that so many of you were interested in my wild blueberry coffee from last week. Well, it's piping hot and fresh as it could be, actually. As we take these minutes to review the markets, you're always welcome to visit the office, and we'll make sure that you can share in this very fine brew. So the week just passed. Well, one of the major fears of many analysts, and it's the fearsome week one of the House of Representatives impeachment hearings. Well, what of it, you might ask? Nothing. Nada. The market, domestic and global, completely ignored Washington's drama and went right on for the major markets to mostly hit higher numbers than we've ever seen. Both the Dow and the S&P managed to hit record highs, with the Dow 30 closing above 28,000. Actually, U.S. equities achieved a sixth straight week of gains. That's the first time since late 2017. So much for political fear factor as we move to close out the year. There was an overarching anxiety, though, and that U.S.-Chinese trade tiff as time moves closer to the very hard wall of December 15. And that's when tariffs will resume if nothing stops them. At midweek, President Trump's economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, seemed to calm the waters a bit, expressing confidence in the trade negotiations. U.S. markets had been trading with a certain lack of energy, but the Kudlow comments brought the markets to a pretty solid close on Friday. In terms of our regular geek reports, the week saw a mixed retail sales report, another drop in industrial production, not at all a surprise. A surprising pullback on regional manufacturing, though. We had good news in auto sales and non-store retailers, aka the online shopping networks. In fact, online shopping came in 14% higher compared to the same period last year. That is a trend we're going to continue to see. Looking beyond the U.S., both Europe and Asia had solid weeks across the board. The only concern I have coming from last week is that global trade has only one focus, the U.S.-Chinese trade talks. I'm very uncomfortable when the entire planet tunes into one channel for news, and that's 24/7. A lot rides on the trade talks. Looking at the cleanup weeks for third quarter earnings, we now have the numbers from 461 of the S&P 500 companies, and 59% of them have actually exceeded expectations on revenue forecast, and 79% of them have exceeded earnings numbers. All this is according to Bloomberg, and it is of some surprising interest to me that the healthcare sector is the standout performer, especially as we find it the number one topic in political rhetoric. So as we look to the trade on Monday, we have several interesting factors. Let's say four. Number one, the market's either bored or has absolutely no interest in the politics of impeachment. Number two, we have solid quarterly earnings, which serve to encourage the tendency for a solid close to the year. Number three, Jerome Powell, especially in his testimony last week, has made it clear that he sees no fearsome future for the U.S. markets, at least in the near term. And four, the bond market is behaving. It's moved away from its Halloween horror and fears of the inverted yield curve for sure. All appears relatively positive for a quiet, even calm trade week with a positive bent, I hope. Next week, we're going to see few earnings surprises, but the economic data is going to be important to all of us. Several reports on housing, and especially existing home sales, will attract our attention. We need to remember that our homes very often can be the most valuable asset we have. More manufacturing data will be headlined, But the one report I want us to follow will be the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index. It's quite exciting. And this is the report, final report for November, and it comes out on Friday. This one report could move markets at the close of the week for sure. Christmas retailers are very, very anxious to get this data as we enter into Christmas shopping time. So as we begin another week, feel free to visit the office for a nice cup of wild blueberry coffee and keep your eyes out for the black swans, which are out there somewhere. You remember from last week. They're the critters, which could upset our very pleasant year end. But trust us, we're watching, and so far we look okay. Have a great week. And as always, please feel free to reach out on the World Wide Web, www.MainStreetFinancialRockford.com, or the default works. Dial us up at 815-965-4000. We can do this together. Take care. Have a grand week.